Hey, what's up guys? It's Farmer Jack. I'm here down the block with my buddy Jerry. And yeah, he literally lives a stone's throw away from our place. And he has over 200 fruit trees here. And he's been kind enough to share with you guys and show what he's got growing on. So we're about to get into it. We could be here all day, but I want to show you the really cool stuff that's happening right now.
Good morning. My name is Jerry and welcome to my Fruitopia. This collection that you're going to see is about 3.5 years old. I moved down here from New York City. So of course when I came down here I wanted to grow the most tropical, exotic, weird and unusual, rare stuff that I could, as well as the more practical stuff like mangoes and avocados and stuff to put on your table and enjoy. So welcome aboard. I planted anything that's under 20 feet tall I planted. This is a variety of avocado called Utuardo. It's originally from Puerto Rico. It's a very, very delicious avocado. Makes a fairly large size avocado. Tastes more like a traditional California Hass type as opposed to the more watery Florida varieties. I let the trees do their own thing. So these are not pruned. This tree had about almost 100 little fruit on it. And I did not thin them. I let the tree drop what it wanted and keep what it wanted. And as you can see, there's about a dozen left of really gorgeous, perfect, large avocados that are getting better every day. I use a kind of an organic, minimalist kind of approach. My attitude is that the trees really know better than I do. That I can think that I read 50 books on horticulture and pruning and different kinds of grafting, and I'm going to be able to get this tree in a perfect shape. Nonsense. The tree knows better than us. The tree will lean and bend and go whichever way it wants, and I pretty much let it. And so far I think I've only lost one tree that fell over and didn't recover. Most of them came back stronger and had more and better fruit after they fell over. And I didn't even bother propping them back up. If that's the way the tree wants to go, I let it go. And if you look on the ground, you'll see I don't use any fertilizer. No pesticides. It's just a couple of inches of mulch which breaks down and forms more soil. And it gets weeds. I just keep adding more mulch materials to it. So you see a whole bunch of, pine needles, tons of them. They will break down. I let them fertilize. See, the other food foresty kinds of things that I'm doing is I'm using the understory to grow additional stuff, but trying to do it in as much a natural way as possible. So I have passion fruit growing along the vine, and I also have grapes growing along the vines. And at some point they intermingle and they fight over the territory and who's going to win. I leave it up to them. So you'll see this is another area where I planted some Seminole pumpkins. And these things are amazing. They grow so fast and they're so tough and they're so resistant to every kind of bug, insect, mold, mildew, fungus. Nobody messes with them. They grow beautiful, and not only that, you can store them about 8 months. I mean, it's a long storage thing. It doesn't need to be refrigerated for storage. To me, they taste like halfway between a butternut squash and a acorn squash. Oh, this is my Atamoya collection. I had Gefna, Lisa, Pet Pak Chang, African Pride, and Priestley. I love them all. Those are to reflect light, to keep the birds. You see what it does? When it does that to your eyes, annoying as hell, isn't it?
So you don't want to go in there.
No, fuck this tree, they say. I got all the other trees, but this tree is special. Jack was asking me about starfruit, and I said, starfruit, I have a whole planet of starfruit. Welcome, leaving Earth, and we're going to be entering another universe altogether.
Amazing.
It's very surreal. It's planet starfruit.
Planet starfruit.
Planet starfruit. Wait till you see when we enter it. Okay, here we go. Planet starfruit.
What? There's fruit flies everywhere. Jerry, how often does this produce?
This tree fruits about 8 months a year. It just fruits basically continuously. And then when all of this fruit is done, it'll take a break for about maybe 5-6 weeks. It'll start flowering again, and from flowers to fruit is only a month. And as you can see, ridiculous amounts of starfruit. So much so that even the animals and all of my raccoons and possums and squirrels and you name it else, the other critters that come here, they can't even keep up with it. I eat as much, I give them away to everybody who wants them. I give buckets of them to my sister-in-law to feed her 70 chickens and ducks, and they're still dropping like crazy. So this man-made tree has been sitting here for 3 years and had no fruit on it. And Paul Nissen, who I'm sure is another name that you might be familiar with, was over at my house, and he suggested to me, and I agree with him, I should prune back some of this ridiculous sized longan tree to give this mamey some more sun, and it will fruit. And I listened to him, I chopped a big chunk of it off, and sure enough, everywhere it was able to get to the sun, it's got fruit on it. Not sure what variety of mamey it is, I know there are dozens. Obviously they need some sun to fruit. My first temptation would be, all the regular agriculture books would tell you, horticulture, cut this branch off because it's growing towards the ground. Right? That's what they would tell you to do. It's growing in the wrong direction, just save this branch. Instead, I said, no, let the tree, it's reaching as far as it can to get to the sun. I let it grow, and look what's on it. I got fruit, and the tree is curving back up, reaching for the sun, and this is probably the healthiest part of the whole tree. Blowing up, and it would have been chopped off if I would have listened to everybody else telling me, you know, Dr. Richard Campbell, the experts and all of that. Oh, you got to prune it because it's growing down. Look, let the tree do its own thing. It knows better than us. This variety of jackfruit I call Magic Jack, named after Magic Jack Sandquist. I bought this tree from Jack as maybe a 1 foot tall seedling just about 3 years ago. So it's actually only 3 years old. And this is like a Jack and the Beanstalk tree. I don't know what the heck is going on, whether it's on steroids or it's on crack, growing like crazy. It hasn't fruited yet, but I'm sure it's going to. I just got that feeling. Basically, when a hurricane comes through, it just means we're going to get a ton of rain. So you have to address the water issues. If you look at my property, I'm going to show you as we go around some of the ways that I've dealt with water issues and overrunning. So if you'll see, for example, my property is lower than my neighbor's. So the natural runoff from his property of excess water onto mine. I got 6 inches of wood chips and mulch piled up along my fence line. So that's the first barrier, and all that water comes through, it'll do two things. One, it'll absorb a tremendous amount, and the other, it'll deflect it to run towards the canals in the front. On the other side of the property, you'll see I dug a ditch. You'll see a small ditch that looks kind of natural because I didn't want to make it look like an unnatural, sump kind of thing. So it kind of meanders, and it looks almost like a natural runoff. I dug it, and it drains excess runoff from my roof of my house and from the driveway, out to the street. That's Indian jujube. There's the Chinese variety, and then there's the Indian type. And the Indian type is a thorned and a thornless. So this is a grafted variety. It's grafted on the thorn variety, which is stronger. And the way I was able to confirm that was, unfortunately, it sent up a huge branch from the roots, which was 5 times as vigorous as this tree, and it was loaded with thorns. So I hacked it back, and now the regular one's coming up.
What variety is this grafted?
I don't know a name. It's just listed as Indian jujube. They stay green. They taste like green apples. I got this from Leif Michelson, whose name I'm sure you'll hear in other tropical fruit forums and groups. He's out of West Palm, and he's a cool guy, and he's got tons of exotic fruit trees. Come through into my jungle. Jack, you're asking about the weirdest fruit I have? This has got to be it. This is the noni fruit, N-O-N-I. And as you can see, the tree is very, very, very happy here. It's a relative of the mulberry, so these are, very similar, and I think they can actually be grafted onto each other. And it's absolutely loaded. I did the right experiment with them, and I took the noni fruit and I put them in a mason jar. and just kind of let them rot down into the liquid. And that's how they make it. It's like a fermented naturally, nothing extraction, just let it rot down. Tasted, I couldn't drink it. It was horrible, horrible.
Did you have any of it or no?
I had to sip. I still got a half jar of it.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law is from Honduras, and she tasted it. She said it's wonderful. And then she called me later that evening and said it's like women's Viagra. And I didn't want to get into it more with her. You know, it's my sister-in-law. But she said it was Viagra for her. You know, noni fruit. All from your yard. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, for sure.
Always a pleasure. Looking forward to come by to your place and see how things are growing there. So keep on growing on and enjoy. Have a great one.